Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. I cannot tell you how good it feels to say that. This could be a pretty emotional video for me. There was a time where I thought maybe I would never make this video and come back to YouTube. I've been sitting here staring at the camera thinking about what I'm gonna say. And at first I was thinking maybe I'll not even mention fragrances today. Maybe I'll just talk about sort of the community and just how generous and amazing the fragrance community is, and how important that is for humans in general. You know, I really feel like there's just so much BS out there. There's so much crap. And when someone can kind of cut through that noise and be real with themselves, with the audience, there is a community waiting for that person. You know, there's an audience for that type of person, whether it's the fragrance community, whether it is the bowling community, and yes, there is a bowling community, whether it's the watch community, whatever it is. Even though we're more connected than ever through technology, I can pick up my phone, write Rich Mitch right now in England. He can respond in seconds and we could have a conversation back and forth. I feel like we are starved for real connection with each other. And I have to say, the messages over the last year, you have no idea how much that has meant to me. I have people every day who write me saying, hey, I hope you come back and I hope you're okay and all this stuff. And you know, it was a really tough year for me. This was probably the hardest year of my life. And you know, I feel like having folks from the community be there for you is almost like having a family. You know, someone to lean on, someone to talk to, and that's what makes communities in general special. And I thought, you know what, maybe I'll just have this conversation about sort of connection and humans and communities and all of this stuff. And while that is true, and I do feel like we could probably have a little bit of that conversation, you know, the fragrance community is filled to the brim with shysters and BS and people always trying to sell you something. They get their free bottles and they talk about how much they love them. It's always a sales pitch. It's always an agenda. And I think, at least for me, my channel has proved that you don't have to be somebody who will just, you know, say good things about a free bottle or about a brand or be on some list where you know, you're seen as the influencer or whatever it may be. I really feel like, as much of a dichotomy as this sounds, there's 99 influencers for every one real person out there. And you would think that real person is somebody that, you know, gets ignored and rejected and pushed aside. And it is the influencers, the ones with the thumbnail, like, you know, showing their new bottles. And they put their video up on the same day they get it, you know, and stuff like that. And but the reality is, and this is where the other side of the chasm comes in, when somebody comes into the community and is real with themselves and who they are, and they just exude that personality of whoever you are inside, I feel like if you really show that to the camera and open up, there is an entire world of people waiting to follow you, to be there with you, to walk alongside of you. And it's interesting because you can apply that to pretty much anything. If you look at what's going on in Hollywood right now, the influencers, the star actors who are chosen, you know, that's one of the biggest things about the world we live in today. Back in the day, you needed to be chosen. You needed to be tapped on the shoulder. You needed to be discovered by someone who was important, an agent or whatever it is, right? And today, I really feel like you can just turn on the camera and start talking and build a community of folks. DL Qualia, who was the very first person to ever send me anything for free, still sends me new samples. Here is a new sample that he just sent me. I haven't even had a chance to smell. There's 10 or 15 of these in the package that he sent me. 432 Melanica. And so having friends like that, having folks in the community who are willing to sort of continue to send you things, it's really kind of kept me connected to this community. Even though I haven't posted for a whole year, that connection has meant everything to me. And from everyone who sort of reached out, sent well wishes, whether it was a email, whether it was a comment on the channel, If you just go look at my last video from a year ago, it's been exactly 1 year since I posted a video, which is crazy to think about. It's been a whole year. And you can tell the lighting is probably wrong. It does feel too bright, doesn't it? I feel like I need to turn the lighting down a little bit. The lighting's wrong. My mouth is dry. I haven't sat in front of a camera and just talked in a while. I don't know where everything is back here anymore. Everyone used to say, man, Ramsey can just reach back there and bam, there's the bottle that he wants. I don't remember where stuff is. I was looking for a fragrance today going, Jesus, where is it? You know? And I just had to look through all the shelves, and it's a nightmare. Back in the day, I could just pull one out and bam, I knew exactly where it was. When you don't do something for a while, you kind of lose some of that. And I'm a very, very routine person. But if you just take a look at that last video I uploaded a year ago, look at the comments. Look at the kind words from the people who have, you know, been here, walked beside me in this journey. And I really feel like that is the difference. Many of the people who are looked down on by certain people in the perfume community are the ones who set themselves out as the experts. They say, I know and you don't know. I never try and do that. I always, you know, even though I may say that I disagree with you, I always say you have a right to your opinion. If you take a look at my channel in the comments, you will see I respond to every single comment. And that's the reason why. Because I do respect everyone's opinion. I do see us all on the level playing field. I would not be sitting at the head of the table while everyone else is sitting on the sides. We would all be sitting on the same side of the table. It would be hard to talk to each other that way. But you get the idea. We would all be on a level playing field. You know, you can't trick all of the people all of the time. And I really feel like that has been what turned me off from the fragrance community. And I also feel like I got to a point where I felt like I reached the mountaintop. You know, I posted a video actually about a few videos from my last video that I ever posted. And I said something along the lines of mountaintop fragrance unboxing because it was two Areej Le Dorés I had been looking for a long time. Malik Al Taif was one of them. And if you go watch that video, you'll see just how excited I was to have it. And it felt like there was nowhere else to go. That I accomplished everything you could ever want to accomplish in the fragrance game. And while it would probably take me 5 years if I wanted to wear every single one of my fragrances one time before I recycled back to another one, that's not true at all. There is no mountaintop. There is no peak that you reach. It is a continuous journey of discovery. And what I decided to do for this video is I decided to show the fragrances that I have acquired in the last year. Okay, so it's going to be very quick, very quick for RAM standards. This is going to be an hour-long video probably. But I'm going to show some of the fragrances that were sent to me. And I told every single one of these brands that send me things, don't send it if you're expecting a review, number one, because I may not ever discuss this fragrance on the channel. You may send it to me and it just may go in my collection and I may not discuss it. And to their credit, every single one of these people said, nope, I'm going to send it to you because I want to send it to you for you. Has nothing to do with a quid pro quo. This is not a, you have to put up a video within the first couple weeks or you're off the list or anything like that. And I'll talk a little bit about, you know, some of the brand owners that we're going to discuss today. All of these were sent to me either by brands or people in the fragrance community that just decided they wanted to send me something, which is still just beyond me, the kindness in the community. It really is not something that I was expecting. So we are a full year from my last video. March 4th of 2025 was the last time I posted one of these videos. And so today we're going to do a RAM style list, fragrances that I've acquired and I've been wearing and getting to know within the last year. I cannot promise that this is going to be a trend where I'm back all the time, you know, but I had to make this video. This is a video that I knew I needed to make because, number one, I miss you guys just as much or more than you miss me. You know, like I said, it was a really, this past year was really, really tough on me. There were so many moving parts and things that were going on in my life. And I decided to take a step away from making fragrance content, but I never stopped wearing fragrances. I never stopped loving fragrances. fragrances have been something that I've been able to lean on even in these hard times. So this is a celebration video. This is not a sad video about the past year and how much it sucked and all the crazy things that have happened in my life. This is a celebration video of the beauty of the fragrance community, the beauty of some of the people within it, the friends, you know, lifetime friends as far as I'm concerned. And wanting to get back on here and tell you guys thank you. You know, someone told me something the other day that really touched me. They said, if you look at most channels, once they stop posting, their subscribers go down. You have continued to grow, and that shows the depth and quality of the videos that you previously put out. I didn't know that as a fact. First of all, that when people stop posting, the subscribers go down. I figured maybe they stayed level or didn't grow as fast. But you guys have continued to subscribe. I get messages all the time from people saying, oh my God, I just discovered you. Please come back and start posting. So again, this is not a promise where I'll be back doing a video a day or anything like that. But I had to make this video for you guys. And who knows, maybe some reviews will start to follow. Maybe I'll start to get back in the groove. It is really tough to sit here in front of the camera after a year off. Because the muscle memory is all gone, you know, the way you sit, the way you talk, the way you show bottles and everything. And so this is sort of maybe a warm-up video for me to get back in the groove. We'll see how it goes. But I'm just glad that I'm here and able to make this video for you guys. And I'm very excited. I hope you get something out of it. Some of these fragrances may be hard to find. There's a lot of artisanal fragrances in here. A lot of fragrances with real oud and stuff like that we're going to discuss. And so these may be on the more expensive side of things to find most of these bottles, but I think this is just a great representation, I think, of kind of the way my tastes have shifted over the years. And of course, all opinions are my own. In fact, I haven't even spent a lot of time with many of these fragrances we're going to discuss today. So it's not going to be in depth. It's going to be very high level on each one of these. Just I want to again reiterate thank you to everyone who has kind of been there for me, checked on me, asked about me. I'm fine. You know, it was a rough patch in my life that I needed to get through, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. So thank you to every single person who has sort of been here for me. I really, really appreciate it. All right. So enough with the mushy stuff. Let's get into the perfume. First of all, let's do scent of the day. So my scent of the day is from Gucci, and you guys have seen this bottle on my channel many a times before. It is a Midnight Stroll. So this is from their, oh gosh, Alchemist collection, I think they call it, or Alchemist Garden collection. So Midnight Stroll is resinous incense. It's all about sort of nighttime air, incense floating in the air as you're sort of taking a stroll in the garden. Gucci says it is epitomized by the Jaguar because of this unerring strength. Is the light still so bright? Let me see if I can turn this down. Hang on. First of all, excuse me whilst I hydrate. I haven't said that in a while. Let me take a sip here, and then more than a sip. We've got the Mountain Valley. So Gucci basically says that the Jaguar epitomizes the unerring strength that this fragrance is supposed to capture in a combination of incense and smoky cade wood. So a Midnight Stroll is a simple fragrance from Alberto Morillas. It's cade, juniper wood, frankincense, and cypress. And these are meant to kind of be mixed together, layered, if you will, which I would never do. I just think that's a crime. But if you are interested in a designer-ish style incense, this is one that I like to wear to work. It's an easy sort of dumb, I don't want to say dumb reach, but it's good for the office as far as compared to some of the other fragrances I'm about to show you. So slightly smoky, but beautiful incense note. Probably one of my favorite newer fragrances from Alberto Morillas. Okay, so let's get into this list, and I'm just going to start with a bang. I'm going to jump straight to the chase. This is not going to be ranked or anything like that. This is actually just going to be alphabetical order of you know, the brands that have sent me things and the one bottle that I bought because I got it for like $10 and I couldn't say no. But this is the only real sample I'm going to show today. And for me, this fragrance is the only fragrance in the last year that I have smelled that I went, I think I would spend my own money on this. In fact, I know that I need to get a bottle of this one day. And I've got some family members who are very, very kind to me that I have to pay back some debts to first before I spend any money on myself, okay? Been working very hard on making sure my priorities are in line. But once all of that is done and the debts are cleared, this is the very first fragrance that I plan on buying. And this is from Sultan Pasha. This is from his sprayable perfume lines, which, you know, we kept saying sprayable attar, but really this line from Sultan Pasha is nothing like I was expecting on his sprayable perfumes. He sent me all four. They are all four, I would say, reference fragrances in each category. But this is the one that made me go, I need this. You know, this is Quintessentially Amber. It's hard to read that, but it's Quintessentially Amber is what that says. And the way that it's described on the website is a kaleidoscopic amber. So he says he uses all elements of the genre in a harmonious way. It's warm, resinous, creamy, spicy, sweet, salty, camphoric, and incensey. When I smelled this, and if anyone knows Sultan Pasha or, you know, wants to verify it with him, send him a message and ask him. But I sent him a voice message on Instagram and I said, when I sprayed this fragrance initially, it was like I saw his eyes with all of the intensity and fire just running at me. You know, his face, I saw his soul just running towards me. He put his heart and soul into this. This is, for me personally, I think I'm going to go out on a limb and make an insane statement here, but it's 100% true. If I re-ranked my amber fragrances, this would be number one. This would be ahead of Ambre Sultan. It's a spicy, sort of, obviously resinous. Some people say they get this caramel-like aspect to it. I'm not so much. If it's there, it's way in the background. It's not like, it's nowhere near like Grand Soir, just the disgusting sweetness from an MFK. Nothing like that. This is pure quality, and you can see the time and energy and effort that he spent trying to perfect this amber. And I think he did it. I think he created a reference amber fragrance. And I will have a bottle of this one day. And just to show how important customer service is, I recommended a friend buy it. The bottle kind of leaked a little bit when he sprayed. And he just told me it in passing. He didn't tell me it because he wanted me to go back to Sultan Pasha and do something about it. But I just said, hey, just wanted to let you know, this is what happened. I told a friend how much I love this fragrance, and they went out and bought it. Their bottle leaks, and he said, no questions asked. Have them send it back, and we will make it right. We'll fix it. And I said, but they didn't buy it from you. They bought it from a third party. He said, I don't care. Have them send it to me. We'll make it right. So this, to me, epitomizes Sultan Pasha and the brand. And you have to go into some of these with an open mind, because we were all expecting sprayable attar. We were expecting something that was dense and thick and rich and heavy. And many of these fragrances, he did Iris Soir, which is a reference iris to me. He did Joyeux, which is a reference lavender. They use a lavender enfleurage. And then he did Thebes. And to me, that is a reference vetiver. It's almost like you kind of take the concept of Jedi by Guerlain, which I reviewed off of a sample on the channel, and just modernized it. It's not his take on Jedi. It's like Jedi complete, like there's Jedi and then there's this, and they're both kind of, on the same path. Like it was clearly inspired by Jedi. This difference between life and death, dark and light, shade and sun in your face. But there is this sort of unbelievable vetiver note in Thebes. And Quintessentially Amber is a reference amber. It's crazy how all four of the fragrances that he put out are references in the category. So one day I will have a bottle of this. It is the only fragrance in the last year that I've said, this is one I would spend my own money on, because when you have such a vast collection, most of the time you have one of everything. So it's very hard to go, I need that. But this is so well done. I need a bottle of Quintessentially Amber one day for the collection. So that is the starter. That's a bang right out of the gate. The fragrance that I discovered this year that I would say you know, the first fragrance that I discovered that made me go, I want to spend my own money on this whenever I can. Okay, so I want to give a quick shout out to a friend who reached out, and his name's Joe. He runs this site right here, which is Lupus and Vega. I believe his name is Joe Vega, but don't quote me on that. And Lupus and Vega created a fragrance that was sold on Steal.nyc, and it was called, and I just knocked it over, and I knocked the other one over. You can see I'm out of practice at this. It was called Brotherhood Oud, and he reached out to me on Instagram and sent me a couple drops. And this is supposed to be, you know, a medicinal blend of ouds, but it's very, very smooth, you know, smoky, fiery, musky, really interesting fragrance. I don't know if you can still buy it. It might be sold out, but yeah, Joe Vega, look at that. There you go. Shout out to Joe Vega of Olfactory Art. So he also sent me a couple very precious drops of a MesOud, which we will talk more about Mesoud's actual bottle that is coming up in the list. And this one's called Old Bazaar. And Old Bazaar is rose damascena, jasmine, tuberose, coffee, tobacco, tonka, rooibos, patchouli, vanilla, cedarwood, sandalwood, and then 2 different types of ouds. As far as like passion for distilling ouds, I look at some of the previous top oud distillers, I would say, like an Ensar, and I look at some of the releases that he's put out. You know, he's put out like 5 to 10 pages of new fragrances in the last year on Parfumo. It is unbelievable the amount of fragrances he has released, and the price increases of Ensar. And if you're a sheikh or, you know, you're some sort of royalty and you have an unlimited budget, fine, go spend 20 grand on 1 bottle of Ensar. But for me personally, if I was going to go buy individual ouds to swipe for myself, Mesud or Feel Oud would be the 2 places that I would go. So I'm really excited to try to get to know Old Bazaar a little bit. Thank you, Joe, for sending it my way. Okay, one more site that I want to give a shout out to before we get into the bottles, and that is vintagedecants.com. It's run by a gentleman named John Miller, if I remember correctly. I can't get it because it's, you know, on my phone, and I'm using my phone right now. But I believe his name was John Miller, and he said he's a fan of the channel. He basically founded this site, Vintage Decants, where they're going to sell decants of vintage, rare, and hard to find fragrances. He's sending me a couple. It didn't arrive in time for the video, but vintagedecants.com. Maybe we'll even have an unboxing one day where I can show you some of what he sent. He sent me a couple of the rare Fahrenheit flankers I've never smelled. I think one's called Aqua Fahrenheit and 32 Fahrenheit or something like that. And, you know, he sent me some rare vintage fragrances as well that I'm excited to try that I've never smelled. So vintagedecants.com. Really, really nice guy, and he is a fragrance nut just like we are. Okay, so let's get into the bottles. And I'm going to take a sip first. Protein. So the first one's Areej Le Doré because we're going in order. And Areej Le Doré is right at the top. This is his newest release, which I believe came out at the end of 25, if I'm not mistaken. But it comes in a box like this, and you can see this is by the Kaaba. So by the Kaaba is $570 for this set. I believe it's sold out on areejledore.com, but I think you can still buy it on a couple sites that I looked at recently that still had it for sale, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's Vivance or something like that. But if you just search for it, you'll be able to find it. But it's sold as a set. And no matter what you think of this fragrance, look at the packaging. Excuse me. Look at the packaging. Still second to none. I mean, just absolute gorgeous, top-notch packaging by Russian Adam. And by the Kaaba, he says it's supposed to be this spiritual journey, his perspective of sitting in Mecca, sitting literally by the Kaaba, and getting the soft sort of whiffs of the precious ingredients and aromatics that are used in that part of the world. So obviously you're going to get oud, you're going to get musk, You're going to get ambergris, but it's supposed to be not heavy, which is strange because most people think of Areej Le Doré as heavy on the oud, heavy on the animalics, challenging fragrances, you know, which is what I love about them. And the reason why it's my favorite brand is because me and him feel the same way about animalics. We want more castoreum and more civet and more ambergris and more oud and more musk, more real deer musk, all this kind of stuff, right? This is different. This is quiet. This is soft. This is whispering. And, you know, he said something to me that's very interesting. He said, if a perfumer meets his goal of what he wanted to do for the fragrance, then it's a success. Now, I will agree with him to an extent. You know, for me, this is not my favorite Areej Le Doré, although I respect exactly what he was saying as far as meeting that success of the brief of the fragrance. Now, to be fair, I've never been to Mecca. I've never smelled the air as, you know, the incense and the rose and oud and everything sort of just gently comes to your nose, all right? So if you're someone who has smelled Russian Adam's work and you went, oh no, I could never wear something that heavy, that animalic, that challenging, this could be the Areej Le Doré fragrance for you. Again, beautiful packaging, and it comes with this little sort of attar as well. So you can swipe the attar and you can also wear the fragrance. So, you know, for me, it was a little too gentle. It was a very shock, actually, because I wasn't expecting this from Areej Le Doré. But he's often said, you know, Russian Adam has said, I will go everywhere. I'll go, you know, I'll go where I'm the perfumer and I make creative, aggressive stuff. I will sit back and let another perfumer make something and I'll be the creative director. And he said he'll go everywhere in the fragrance community. And this is a great sort of example of that. The notes here, there's actually a little, there is a little blurb about it. It comes like this. One of the few Areej Le Dorés where the notes are actually not printed on the packaging. Normally they're inside somewhere. And I know he said that it's important for him to do that because if someone finds this in the future and this is lost, he wanted them to be able to know exactly what the notes were. But it says, top notes are rare vintage red, Royal Omani Luban, frankincense, infused with vintage rayon, which is basil. Heart notes, a bouquet of vintage, exquisite vintage roses, including Royal Taif, my favorite type of rose, distilled from petals infused with natural vintage deer musk and white ambergris, resinoid, and vintage saffron. Base notes are vintage Cambodian oud from the 80s, cow, yai, and manipur oud, rare distilled jasmine grandiflorum, Indian sandalwood laced with spices and natural deer musk, deepened by orris root, patchouli, and myrrh. So if you're looking for maybe a gentler take on Areej Le Doré that still uses the real sandalwood, the real Taif rose, the real oud, check out by the Kaaba. Again, stunning packaging. All right, so that is Areej Le Doré. We're on the A's and we're only half an hour in. Look at that. We're making great time. So, next on the list is the only fragrance that I purchased with my own money on this list, and it was like $10, so I couldn't say no. The person basically was giving it away, and in a sense, because it was so cheap, and I said, screw it, I'm going to go for it. I'll grab a bottle, and it is Hermes Un Jardin a Cythère. A Cythère is how I believe you pronounce this, a Cythère. And I think that is the island that Aphrodite supposedly slept on that became Cyprus, modern day, our version of Cyprus, if you will. And it's where the word Chypre comes from. So it's sort of has its own important place in perfumery, if you will. And Hermes for like $10. It's just, no matter what. I knew nothing about the fragrance, but I was like, $10, whatever, I'll buy it. And this is olive wood, dry grass, and pistachio. So it's interesting because they basically say Christine Nagel, you know, in this Un Jardin line, which is like sort of a garden. So all of these are like a garden on the rooftop, or, you know, a garden by the stream, or all the different versions of this Un Jardin line, if you will. This is the only full bottle I have from the line. I do have some 10 or 15 mil maybe. I think it's the one with pear, if I'm not mistaken. But she says that this is not supposed to be green or floral like a garden, but it's supposed to be blonde. And actually, you know what? I think we're gonna spray some of these. By the Kaaba, I wore a lot. This one, I have not, though. So let's just, why not? We'll spray along. It's a celebration. Hermes. Let's see. I have not even worn this as my scent of the day yet. I just sprayed it once when I got it and went, and put it away. She says, enveloping notes of grasses with the strength of olive wood and the tenderness of fresh pistachio. I could see this working very well in summer, even though she says it's supposed to be blonde, not green like a garden. And if you look at the graduated bottle, you can kind of get that sense, if you will, of blonde. Maybe you could think about wheat. Maybe you could think about sort of like in Gladiator, when he's walking and touching the grasses as he's about to die, and he keeps going back to that image of him, his hand kind of passing through that wheat-colored grass. That may be a good image of it, but lots of citruses. It's a good $10 fragrance when I pay full price for this. No way. Olive wood is an interesting note. There's not too many. Actually, I think there might be an olive wood note in this, if memory serves. And it kind of feels surprisingly, not smelling the same, but they have the same kind of feeling of, what it evokes, the way that it evokes as Trussardi's Python for Men, which, again, is a very summery, it's a fragrance that just kind of makes me go, when you wear it. It's good for the heat, but this is the only bottle I've spent my own money on. So there you go. Hermes. Next on the list, we have a Lancetti fragrance. And this was sent to me by a friend in the fragrance community, so thank you very much. You know who you are. This is Lancetti's Monsieur. So Monsieur came out in 1995, and you know the 90s are all about fresh citruses, and that's exactly where, the aquatics were huge in the 90s. And so Lancetti basically decided to take that fresh popularity and try and merge it with sort of a vintage masculine feel. If you go back to the masculines from the 50s and 60s, lots of heavy citruses. Think of the heavy citruses in something like Dior Sauvage. Eau Sauvage. Or some of the old school fragrances for men, like, let's see if I have it here. Think of like Pour Monsieur by Chanel for Men. See, I couldn't even find the bottle. I'm out of practice is what it is. But let's spray this. Let's spray this Lancetti, shall we? Since we have I should have got these blotters ready with, I should have wrote on them which one first so I didn't have to waste the time of writing. Lancetti Monsieur. So, yeah, it's a very sort of sharp citrus that hits you right from the get-go. Mixture of lemon, petitgrain, bergamot. There's some sharpness from mint and thyme, very herbal. And this is another one where I still have not worn it as my scent of the day, but I've worn it to bed before, and it dries down to a very classy. I could see this with a suit easily. Cedar, rosewood, lots of woods, a little bit of patchouli and tonka in the base, sandalwood. Probably for you vintage lovers, not going to be one of the heavily sought after vintage fragrances. It's not going to be the Beasts, the Antaiuses, the Coros, but these have their place. It's a fougere in style. If you're a fougere fan, this is really good work though. Very, very well done. It's just it's hard to excite the vintage fanboys, which I myself am, with a citrus heavy fragrance, but they have their place. So Lancetti Monsieur from 1995. Okay, next on the list, we have a amazing tale, and I'm going to tell you the story as best as I can, but let me show you the fragrance first. It's the only fragrance from this brand in my collection. In fact, it's the first time I've ever smelled anything from this brand. It's called Lost Tribe. Lost Tribe is a New York City-based brand, if I'm not mistaken. And Lost Tribe released this fragrance in conjunction with a aspiring perfumer, up-and-coming perfumer called Noir Russel, or Russell. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. Noir Russel. And he's a UK-based, in the United Kingdom, perfumer. And he had a dream of starting his own fragrance house and releasing fragrances and stuff like that. So he reached out to Matthew, who owns Lost Tribe, and he basically ran the idea by him. Matthew said, sure, I'd love to try it out. Send me some of your work. Well, he sent it, and it got returned to him because, of course, fragrances cannot leave the England, can't leave the island. So he said, and this is where the story I think really gets amazing, is he said, I'm just going to get on a plane and go meet Matthew. So he took his work and went. And Matthew loved it, but he said, you know what? Your ingredients aren't good enough. We're going to replace them with real natural ingredients that I like to use in Lost Tribe. Okay? So what ended up happening, though, is that he said, because I was using such maybe not low quality, but inferior materials to what Matthew had access to, I had to rework the composition in order to make it work, in order for it to be what I wanted and incorporate these newer, better materials that Matthew gave me to use. And so he said it went through 60 different variations of Parc Florale, and 60 different variations until it finally arrived at this one. I almost feel bad spraying this on a blotter. I'm just going to spray this on my skin. Screw it. But this is, he says, a complex, grandiose fragrance. And it was inspired by this visit that he made to this sort of Gothic style architecture building. The chateau, if you will, Gothic style chateau. And he tried to recreate that feeling in this fragrance. And it's interesting because I chatted with him on Instagram a little bit. I told him the same thing. God knows if I'll ever get a chance to review this fragrance or even talk about it on the channel. He sent it to me anyways. And he said, I don't consider this fragrance vintage. I consider it antique, more like going back to the 1800s, not the early 1900s. And I thought, that is perfect for this because it opens up feeling green and floral. That little sort of like green outline that you see right here is a perfect representation of the fragrance. And you can see the rose right there in the middle. And the fragrance is sparkly. You can get the ambergris adds that sort of sparkle to the bergamot, grapefruit, mandarin orange, Spanish lemon verbena. And when I first smelled this, I was like, man, this smells like a citrusy, fresh sort of fougere with maybe just a little bit underneath of real oud, you know? And it's way in the background at first when you first spray. The LME adds that slight sort of touch of maybe just a tiny touch of that incensey, lemony feeling in the opening. But that green, natural floral, I mean, just think of the rose right there in the beginning. Look at the green sort of stem of the rose and the green outline in the lettering. There is nothing too feminine about this. I actually love this fragrance. I think it's one of the better floral scents that I've discovered in the last year since I've had a chance to chat with you guys. There's pot marigold, ginger, honeysuckle, otto, lavender, Litsea cubiba, which extends those citrus notes, patchouli, white rose, ylang ylang, Chinese oud, hyraceum, which don't let that put you off. I mean, it's what makes it an artisanal fragrance, the Chinese oud. There's Indian oud as well, but the Indian oud is not skanky here. The hyraceum does not add any of that funky, harsh, leathery feeling that hyraceum can sometimes add, that animalic feel. Hyraceum can sometimes be really off-putting, because it's basically sort of mummified poop, if you will, from the high racks. And so it is a really tough note to work into a fragrance like this. Just a little bit too much, it can overpower everything. There's Immortelle, Linden Blossom, Oak Moss, Rosemary, and Virginia Cedar. So they say sweet green. I disagree. I would say it's more sort of like citrusy green. Lots of citruses in the opening. It would be, if you were somebody who is cognizant about wearing heavier ouds, let's say, during the warmer months, this is a perfect fragrance. Actually, all of them that we've started with so far, even the Areej Le Doré, like if you wanted to wear an Areej Le Doré in warm weather, By the Kaaba would be a great one to wear because it doesn't have as much of the heavier hand as some of his other perfumes. So Parc Florale, this deserves to be highlighted. I don't even know if it's on the Lost Tribe website anymore. I looked for it. It's not there. I don't know if it's sold well, but it deserves to be shouted out. And Noah, I mean, just having that willpower to say, you know what, I don't care if it got returned to me. I'm going to go make this happen. It's my dream. It's an amazing story. So Lost Tribe, Parc Florale. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Okay, next on the list, we're going to the house of Maxim Perfumes. And if you know the house of Maxim, you know this is Dmitry Bortnikov's son. I feel like I'm kind of getting back into the groove a little bit now. You know, maybe I should have talked for a little bit and then restarted the video so the opening wasn't so awkward and unbalanced. But now we're getting in the groove. So this is Ambre de Noir. So Ambre de Noir, here's the picture. They always send a beautiful little card that's supposed to give you a feeling for what the fragrance is supposed to, you know, probably an AI-generated picture of what the fragrance is supposed to look like in an image. And Ambre de Noir, they say, is a warm... Actually, let me get my little blotter out. I'm not going to spray this one on skin. This is warm, golden dark scent that feels like walking through a night bazaar. And it is green accord, herbal notes, saffron, frangipani, magnolia, shamama, which is sort of an Indian ambery attar, famous attar, shamama attar, tobacco, amber accord, India, marine amber notes, sandalwood from India, tonka bean, and vanilla Madagascar. It's interesting because when this brand first came out, this Maxim, I was worried because some of the Bortnikov fragrances, you know, I know Dmitry had some health issues and the rumor was that his son was kind of filling in for him. And some of the fragrances I started to review, I really didn't like. I didn't like Sherazade or the more designery feel that Bortnikov started to have in those days. And I thought it was maybe his son working as a perfumer. So I was a little worried about this brand, but I have been more than impressed with what they've done here. He's really kind of stepped up to the plate with his own brand, Maxim. And there's kind of the notes more if you're a visual person or you want to kind of take a screenshot just to have the notes there and the descriptions of each one. But it is sort of a floral. This fragrance feels like you're taking some of that white frangipani, that white floral feeling that his father Dmitry loves to use in his fragrances in the Bortnikov line, and add them to sort of the Maxim DNA, if you will. So Ambre de Noir, 50 mils is $320, but if you're looking for an amber and you don't want to trust me on the Sultan Pasha, check out Ambre de Noir. Okay, next on the list we have a Chypre, and this is from Maxim. There's actually two more from Maxim I'm going to show you, and so this one's called Chypre de Grande. Chypre de Grande, as I'm butchering writing it on the card. But there's the image, if you will, of Chypre de Grande. And Chypre de Grande is timeless sophistication, according to the brand. You can wear it anywhere. Fresh, refined, and quietly magnetic. So I don't know, what is that supposed to be? I'm not sure what those are supposed to be there. I'm going to have to look closer at that picture. But it is bergamot, lime, white grapefruit with beeswax, benzoin, guaiac wood, rose de mai, and a musk accord, which we're going to see if we can get it as soon as I can spray. Styrax, Thai licorice, must be Thai licorice. I think that might be where they're based, Thailand. Cedarwood, Virginia cedarwood, labdanum, light patchouli, and oak moss. Yeah, I mean, you instantly get sort of the blend between the citruses on the top, and it instantly starts merging with the resinous beeswax, benzoin notes. I am getting the licorice, though. The licorice, at least on card, it's prominent. I don't remember it being so prominent on skin. See, the problem is I haven't worn many of these really as my scent of the day enough to really get in, do a deep dive. But if you're a Chypre fan, and maybe you like adding some of that artisanal touch to your Chypre, but you don't want it to be too much, you want it to still be kind of light, Chypre de Grand might be one to consider. Again, 50 mils, $320. Okay, next on the list, we need to keep this moving or else my hour prognostication is not going to hold true. This is probably my favorite of the new Maxims that I've smelled, and I'm gonna put this one on skin because I really like this one. This is Cologne de Agar, and I think this is one of his newer releases. And it says, where the morning light meets soft Burmese oud, carrying a pocket of silence captured in that moment. Okay, so for me, the very first thing that this elicits, if you like the overdose of bergamot in Shalimar, if you like that heavy bergamot that just punches you in the face, offset with sort of that vanillic benzoin, labdanum, base, or let's say the Guerlainade in the base. If you really like that contrast between the heavy overdose of bergamot, this is what this reminds me of. This is Cologne de Agar, to me, is sort of Shalimar done with the Burmese oud in the base. The oud is not funky. It just adds a little bit of this slightly, sort of not vinegary, but sort of resinous oud, It kind of has that slightly fermented feel. The oud is ever so slightly skanky, but it kind of has that paint thinner. You know how oud sometimes can give you that sort of lacquered feel? That's what the oud in here feels like. It feels like you took a piece of wood, stained it with oud, like lacquer oud, and then now you're smelling the final product, which is made up of the wood and the little lacquer top that you put on. The saffron is really punching through right now too, but at first that overdose of that overdose of bergamot reminds you of the contrast in the way Shalimar was built. Soft Burmese oud is what he says, carrying a pocket of silence captured in that moment. A pocket of silence. I saw something on his Instagram that was showing the Sichuan pepper being fermented. It's a very fiery smelling pepper. And you can tell the ingredients are very high quality. When it says cologne, I instantly thought, oh, I'm not going to like this one, but it turned out being my favorite of all of the 4 that he sent me in the last year since I stopped doing videos. So Cologne de Agar, to me, is definitely, if you're into that type of scent profile, definitely one to consider. Look at the castle there, the AI built castle. That's their idea of what Cologne de Agar is supposed to remind you of. I just imagine Jean-Paul Guerlain in there making Shalimar in some mysterious realm. So Cologne de Agar, definitely worth a sniff if you're into that scent profile. Okay, and then we've got probably when you think about Cologne de Agar, you wouldn't think it would have that vanillic, the bergamot vanilla oud kind of combination, but this one's literally called vanilla oud, so there's no if, ands, or buts about it. You can see the AI generated vanilla pods there. And vanilla oud is 50 mils for $350. So we've gone up just a hair. We've gone up an extra 20 or 30 bucks here. But vanilla oud is a cozy, velvety, they say, oud wrapped in 3 natural vanillas. Regal, comforting, and powerful. Top notes of bergamot, jungle pepper, which I have to look into. Jungle pepper, pink pepper, apricot, jasmine sambac, vanilla Madagascar, vanilla New Guinea, vanilla red, ylang ylang, benzoin, birch tar, Cambodian oud, labdanum, peri balsam, trat oud, and trat oud tincture. This is the one that reminds me of Musk Habib. If you really like that Musk Habib DNA, go watch my Musk Habib review. This is Maxim Perfume does Musk Habib to me. You know, the apricot, the fruitiness of the apricot takes it in a little different direction, but it feels like they maybe began this with a similar starting point. I like this, but I love Musk Habib, so it's hard to compete. Okay, now I'm going to show you I would say my favorite tobacco scent that I've discovered in the last 2 years, thanks to my good friend Mesud. And I told you, as far as oud distillers go, with passion and love, you know, he sent me a picture of him at his workshop before, and you can just see the joy he gets from it. It's a hobby for him. It's something he loves doing, distilling oud, bringing proper distillations to the masses. And he sent me 15 mil of one of the most amazing tobacco scents that I've smelled. And this is called 2 a.m. And right there tells you everything about the brand. My love, my passion, my sweat, my respect. And really it's passion and love. And he puts his heart and soul and blood, sweat, and tears into the brand. But it's really the passion that he has for it. And 2 a.m., you can see how much I've worn this. This one I've actually worn. It's been a while since I've worn it, but this is the words to describe this. And again, I don't want to waste a spray on a blotter because I love this so much. Let me take this watch off and I will, as far as like, if you want something bold, if you were expecting the Areej Le Doré to be bold here, and you're a little disappointed by the Kaaba has that lighter touch, this is one that would fill that gap of, if you want something heavy, bold, that you'll smell the very next day. Oh my God, I mean, look at this. Look at the color. It is just, it's thick. They say it has a very masculine edge to it, and it absolutely does. Oh, I mean, it just hits you. Kind of like synesthesia hits you with like this sort of blend of oud and castoreum and tobacco. And it's just phenomenal. Rich cognac too. So imagine cognac and tobacco, two perfect things for a nightcap, which sounds good after this video because my voice is going to be completely gone. I'm so not used to doing this. I need to get back into the groove. I'm a really routine person. If it's in the routine, I'll keep doing the videos. If it's out of the routine, you can see it takes a whole year for me to come back. But oh, dense, thick. They use words like bold, unapologetic. They say the tobacco is unfiltered, which I don't know how you have unfiltered tobacco, but it paints a good portrait. You know, I imagine like Camel Reds or Marlboro Reds versus Marlboro Lights. One had the filter, one apparently didn't. I don't know. It's been a while since I smoked a cigarette. It's been a long, long while. But you just get that bitterness. You know, you get the spices, and it has that Mesud DNA. You know, go check out my synesthesia review. If you like his style, 2 a.m. is phenomenal. I mean, it is, like I said, my new favorite tobacco discovery that I've made within the last 12 months. Absolutely stunning work by Mesud, and really somebody that I have no problem supporting wholeheartedly. Guys like him and Russian Adam and you know, the folks who do it for the passion, those are the guys that I really want to support. And he knocked this one out of the park. I think it's still available. And the other thing is, you can get 15 mils, I think, for like 160 bucks on his website. Absolute steal. Absolute steal. No way could you find, granted it's not a huge bottle, but 15 mils where one spray is enough. I mean, that's a hell of a steal to me. So beautiful work by Mesud. Okay, next on the list, we're going to the second to final brand. And this is a brand called Nibiru Parfums. And it's actually the video I uploaded a year ago to the day, March 4th of 2025. It was a Nibiru review. And he sent me 5 bottles. Shout out to Frederick. And again, I told him the same thing that I'm telling you guys. I said, God knows when I'll be able to show them on the channel, if I even will be able to ever again, if I even will. And he said, I don't care. This is for you. I want you to enjoy these. And I hope they re-spark your love of perfumery. And, you know, these fragrances that he sent me, the 5 fragrances, and we'll go through them kind of very high level, but Frederick's Instagram is full of information on the brand of Nibiru if you want to check it out. But this is my favorite from the 5 that he sent me. And as you can imagine, it's a vintage style Chypre. And this is called Antique. And he uses these wood, laser engraved kind of wood plates that go on the front. I think he could do better with the box, but it's fine for now. It is what it is. Usually there's also a wood engraved plate here that says the notes and ingredients, but this one either fell off or just didn't get included, or he wasn't doing it then, and now he is. But Antique is a 2025 release, and you can see it has the laser engraved wood plate on the bottle as well. And this is a floral Chypre. Aldehydes in the top, Italian bergamot, peach, Italian lemon, Italian mandarin orange, Moroccan neroli. I'm not going to be able to smell anything except for 2 a.m. I mean, look at that. Look at the stain. Oh, it's just the tobacco is... I mean, a good cigar and cognac sounds really good right now. Soap, Bulgarian Rose Absolute, Florentine Iris Absolute, Jasmine Absolute, Neroli Jasmine, Orris Root Resinoid Rose, Ylang Ylang Absolute, Ethiopian Civet, Vanilla Absolute, Oak Moss Amber, Ceylonese Sandalwood, Java Vetiver, Patchouli Siam Benzoin, and Tonka Bean. So you can see complex Chypre. And the thing about Nibiru is he gets to work with some of these rare and, hard to find ingredients that some of the other artisanal houses get to work with. Like you will see him use oud from Sultan bin Qaboos's collection when they were selling some of the stuff off. You'll see Taif Rose from Sultan bin Qaboos's collection. And to me, the reason that this is my favorite is because even though it has all of these rare ingredients in it, it's vintage, but it's very avant-garde and modern at the same time. It's full of orris. You get a lot of... Here, let me spray this one. I hate spraying this on a card, but if I spray it on my arm, I'm not going to be able to smell it. So, Antique. All right. Yeah, because 2 a.m. is just going to overpower everything. Okay. And you can see you can see the little brown stain it left. Beautiful color. Yeah, this is smooth, like a stealth Chypre is how I described it when I wore this as my scent of the day when I made notes. Aldehydes, apparently there's a ton of civet in here, according to Frederick, but it blends so beautifully with everything. None of the notes jump out. It's not like the civet in Oud Infini, where you're just like, oh my God, animalic, pissy, piss-stained civet. No, this is the exact opposite of that. It is just so beautifully made, and everything is just smoothed over. Imagine taking the paintbrush and just smoothing all of the transitions with powdery orris. Tons of beautiful powdery orris. And it's a Chypre. It's an antique. And it's interesting because what did Mr. Russel say about his Parc Florale? He said, don't call it vintage, call it antique. This is literally called antique, and it's a Chypre. This is much more classical in style. Much more classical in style to me. Just gorgeous. I mean, beautiful. Beautiful work by Frederick. They give you a little baggie so you can carry it with as well. So, antique. And I think you have to contact him on Instagram still. think it's a lot like Sherwood, which is the last brand we are going to discuss. But Frederick's a great guy, so antique. Okay, next on the list we have Divine Dominion. Divine Dominion. He likes the alliteration. And there's what the little plaque is supposed to look like. The box got wet, and I made sure to salvage the plaque with the notes. But this is from the Elite, I think it's XL line, if I'm not mistaken. Let me get a blotter so we can spray this while we're chatting here. So Divine Dominion. Divine Dominion. Spicy, resinous. It's got clove, Italian burger. Actually, you know what? I'm going to read the, while we're letting this settle, I'm going to read the notes from here, because this is the proper note list. So, Italian bergamot, Italian blood orange, Italian laurel leaf, vintage 1960s basil. Sounds like a Austin Power character. Vintage basil. I can't read that one. Kampot. I think that says Cambodia Kampot pepper. Fermented clove. So forget fermented oud, boys and girls. We've got fermented clove. Jasmine sambac. Forlorn tuberose. It is a sad forlorn tuberose. Vintage Royale Indian Keisha Rose, which sounds just badass. African Ginger Absolute. Vintage 1960s Givaudan Pine. Again, I said he gets to work with a lot of really cool ingredients. Chinese Duhud. Wild Assam Oud. Wild Oud from Laos. Hindi Java Oil. Ceylon Santal. Ethiopian Civet. African Hyraceum. XQ Myrrh, which I think is the XQ means from Sultan bin Caboose, maybe that's SQ. I can't remember, but XQ means something. It's one of the rare ingredients, or expensive, or vintage ingredients, I think. Vintage 1950s patchouli, so that is definitely aged. Kilimantran agarwood resin, Bengali Nagarmatha, and Tolu balsam. So this is a very spicy, you're going to get the clove. You're definitely going to get the spices that hit you right from the beginning. Basil and Italian bay leaf come together to add some of the herbal side to it. But again, it's the rare Indian rose, the vintage Givaudan pine, the Assam oud and the Laotian oud in the base, the myrrh, the vintage patchouli. A little bit of African hyrax as well. I think that's what African hyraceum, yes. But even though he gets to use all of these sort of rare and hard to find ingredients, his style is much smoother. They're there, but they're part of the composition. If you like your fragrances heavier, go for some of the vintage Areej Le Doré. Imagine that, older Areej Le Dorés, or some of the other brands like this 2 a.m. Man, tobacco, and that is just glorious. And my voice is running out, but his work is much more sort of part of the overall whole, and it all comes together beautifully. For someone who wasn't, I don't think he was classically trained as a perfumer. He is improving. He's doing very, very well in improving. So that is Divine Dominion. He loves the alliteration. Divine Dominion. Okay, just 5 more, and we are done. Next on the list, we have Nocturnal Nemesis. Nocturnal Nemesis. Let me show you what it's supposed to look like, because the first one I showed you didn't have the plate. The second one didn't even have the box, because I broke it. So this one has it all. So let me show you what the packaging really looks like. So Nocturnal Nemesis, and you open it up, and voila, there's the plate with the notes right there, and there's your bottle. So Nocturnal Nemesis is Ceylonese cinnamon, hibiscus, Italian bergamot, Kashmiri clove, Indian eucalyptus, Italian rosemary. Where's my blotters? Here we go. Yeah, definitely setting the blotter up next time, so I don't have to write on them. Nocturnal Nemesis. Actually, let me read you the notes from the actual proper laser engraved plaque. So, we've got Italian bergamot, Italian rosemary, hibiscus, Kashmiri clove, Ceylon cinnamon, Indian eucalyptus. So you kind of get that contrast between the cinnamon spiciness, and the eucalyptus. Sort of very medicinal eucalyptus, very medicinal smell. Osmanthus absolute, which adds that floral, sort of slightly animalic, peachy. Osmanthus is a flower that has that sort of peach, fruity peach, animalic fruity peach undertone. And Baronia absolute, black spruce absolute, Turkish rose absolute, Chinese ginseng, and then the base is vintage Papua oud, Malay oud, Kilimantan agarwood resin, vintage 1940s castoreum. That is one dead beaver. That's a long time ago. Vintage 1950s patchouli. Again, probably the same patchouli I would think in the previous one. Mysore sandalwood. And he gets to work with, like I said, these rare ingredients. Mysore sandalwood. Anicha shells. Wool absolute. There's a rare one. Wool absolute. Peru balsam and XQ myrrh. I wonder what the wool does if you distill or tincture, I guess not distill, but tincture wool absolute, what it adds to a fragrance like this. But it's very, if you're a fan of spice bomb, like heavy spices, the cinnamon really pops in this. The hibiscus adds a little bit of sweetness from the floral. Baronia absolute showed up in some of Russian Adam's work recently as well. But it's a fascinating blend, black spruce, osmanthus, hibiscus, all of these, like, what can you think of a fragrance that has onychia shells, wool absolute, clove, eucalyptus, baronia, osmanthus, spruce, cinnamon, Chinese ginseng? I mean, the notes are just, they seem like they wouldn't work, but again, all of his fragrances come together to form this. It's almost like the quilt, it just comes together. And Nocturnal Nemesis, I think Antique is my favorite of his newer releases, but two more from him and then two more from Sherwood. And the Sherwood one is a really, really special one. I haven't had a chance to really thank Prakar Gupta for sending me these two, but both of them are awesome. But one in particular I am in love with. So a couple more from Nibiru. Next up, we've got Rahmani's Revenge. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Rahmani's Revenge. And this is, again, spicy, woody. It's Italian Bergamot FCF, which I don't know what that is. Italian Bergamot FCF. I'll have to look that up. Fermented Chinese clove. Again, with the fermented clove. I can't say I've ever smelled or even heard of anyone using fermented clove. I'll have to get some more research on that as well. Italian tarragon, Italian laurel leaf, tobacco flower absolute, vintage 1970s, high elevation French lavender. Very, very interesting because a lot of folks were saying nowadays everything is like lavendin from the farmers, and it's hard to find proper lavender anymore because it's not as profitable to the farmers. So you have XQ Taif rose, which adds that sort of like tea-like feeling to the rose. It's a very fresh, citrusy rose. I love it. Bulgarian rose, night blooming jasmine, white and golden ambergris, wild Indonesian Sumbama oud. Is that what that says? It's really, really small, so it's hard to see exactly. Kilimantan agarwood resin, Copipa balsam, Ceylon santal, Texas cedar, benzoin, Ethiopian civet, and XQ myrrh. So Rachmani's Revenge. Okay, last one from Nibiru, and then we will move on to Sherwood and call it a wrap. This is way longer than I wanted this to go already, but I'm glad I got a chance to do the video. I'm really, really glad that I just forced myself to sit here and do it for you guys, it's a special video for me. Having this done, I've come a very long way to be able to sit here with you guys and do this video. And this is a special one, so thank you. Thank you to everybody for pushing me to do it. Okay, Vicious Vanguard is the final one, and Vicious Vanguard is also woody and spicy. It's got Italian sweet orange, Italian blood orange, Iranian saffron, Ceylon cinnamon, kaffir lime, orange flower absolute, Chinese angelica root, vintage Krim rose, XQ Taif rose, wild Indonesian Sumbama oud, Burmese oud, Maruki oud, aged white oud, which I think is oud without the infection, without the part that makes it oud. It's the Ocularia tree on its own, I think. Ethiopian civet, Kilimantaran, agarwood resin, XQ myrrh, and Peru balsam. This is the one I think that reminded me of the of like some sort of a African drink or something. Yeah, this is the one that for some reason like Africa popped in my head. But you definitely get that hit of kaffir and lime and right from the beginning. There's a few fragrances that use that kaffir lime note that I've talked about on the channel that I really like. The one that is probably my favorite is Chypre Siam from Rogue Perfumery. I love the kaffir lime note in here, and this kind of does something similar. The Iranian saffron is chemically, and it's a gorgeous opening. Probably the most unique opening of the ones we've discussed. It really sets it apart. And, you know, if you're into fragrances that are different, this is definitely one to try. Like I said, it reminded me of Africa in like a drink. It's got this fizziness to it. I think that's the one that had the fizziness start to come out. Yeah, I need to wear them more and see if maybe I can do some reviews. But we only have 2 more to go, and they are 2 of my favorites from in the past year that I haven't had a chance to show you guys. They're both from Sherwood. So the first one is called Sherwood Alpha. Now, you're going to see an empty bottle. That's because it just so happened that the top came off, and it wasn't spraying. So I had to pop the top off and decant it, and it's back right there. I think it's right there. Yeah, right there. So Alpha, Alpha reminds me a lot of, there was a Roja fragrance that, see, the problem is I don't remember the names of these fragrances because it's been so long since I've discussed it publicly, that I just don't remember. But it was the one in the green. Oh man, I'm just gonna have to look it up really quick. It's gonna drive me crazy. It was the one in the green bottle, and everyone was kind of making fun of it when it first came out because they said the bottle looked like it was like an Axe bottle, or let's see, newest release year. What was it called? It was Apex. Apex is the fragrance I'm thinking of. Apex has that Halston, you know, vintage kind of vibe to it. And if you like that feeling, Alpha sort of takes that concept, if you will, that floral green, but underneath you have the, you know, labdanum and castoreum and all of the stuff that makes it, you know, an artisanal fragrance and just amps it up, you know. So if you liked Apex, or you liked that vintage style Halston Z14, imagine that done with Prakhar Gupta's special touch. You know, his fragrances have a DNA to them. So think about Guerlain's having the Guerlainade. If you've smelled Prakhar Gupta's work, there is a common thread that runs through all of them, and it's here. And his use of florals in this fragrance is amazing. And you would think, okay, the florals here are going to be feminine. They're not. If you look at some of the vintage masculines, look at Fahrenheit. Look at how many florals are in Fahrenheit. And it's a very similar type process here. There's a ton of florals, but this is extremely masculine to me. It's green. It's animalic. Imagine you're taking Devon and Apex and blending them together, and you get alpha in a artisanal realm. Okay, that's kind of the image. So aldehydes, grapefruit, Egyptian geranium, holy basil, Amalfi lemon, Calabrian bergamot, mandarin orange, Mediterranean cypress, immortelle, lily of the valley, orris, tuberose, jasmine sambac, violet leaf, Turkish rose, orange blossom, Ethiopian civet, Russian castoreum, Spanish labdanum absolute, Himalayan cedar, Indonesian patchouli, oak moss absolute, and tonka bean. And finally, my favorite of the full bottles on this list, I told you that Ambre, or the Quintessentially Ambre by Sultan Pasha is the one I would spend my money on. If I didn't have a full bottle of this would be the one I would spend my money on, because to me, this is like Prakhar Gupta made a fragrance just for me. And he made it to suit my style. This is a leather and a heavy saffron leather combination. It's called Seraphim. Seraphim by Sherwood. This fragrance is my freaking God. You know, as far as the full bottles go that were sent to me, of all of the bottles we're discussing, this is my favorite of all of them. And, you know, Prakhar Gupta, I said he's an up-and-coming star for the longest time. I just feel like I'm going to waste it if I spray it on a blotter. I have to spray it somewhere, but I don't have very much skin left to spray. I'm just going to spray it in the middle. I mean, it's going to take over everything anyways. But between 2 a.m. and, oh my God. It is the best saffron note I've ever smelled in perfumery. To me, personally, Seraphim has that Kashmiri saffron. Oh, it just pops, you know. It has that chemically feel mixing with sort of, you know, saffron has this sort of ability to feel like sand or grains. You know, it has this graininess to it. So imagine leathery undertones instantly hit you. Spanish labdanum and oud comes together to form what I think is this leather backbone with birch tar and this tobacco absolute note that comes through. So saffron, heavy, cypriol, oud, and East Indian oud, and frankincense with tobacco. But that saffron note in the opening, my God, imagine if you want a designer example, imagine Tuscan leather done in the artisanal style. Absolutely brilliant. To me, this is Prakhar Gupta's masterpiece. I always said Ambrosia was my favorite, and it is right there with Seraphim for me. But Seraphim takes the top spot. This is Prakhar Gupta's best work by far for my taste. If I lived in a cold climate, this could easily be a signature scent for me. It is phenomenal. He is also continuing to improve. 70 bottles were produced, but Seraphim it has that raspberry touch too. That maybe that's why it echoes back to Tom Ford's oh gosh, his leather that I just mentioned. See, I'm too tired to continue. Obviously, I'm out of practice. Tuscan leather, excuse me. But seriously, I didn't want this to go over an hour. We're at an hour and 19 minutes. I just want to say again from the bottom of my heart, thank you to every single person who has kind of been on this journey with me. I'm sorry that I've been away for the last year. I almost feel guilty, you know? Like I feel like I should be doing these videos for you guys, but I also have to be in the right mental mindset to make these videos. And I'm getting back to that point, feeling more and more like myself. And as always, I love you guys. Thank you to everybody who has been there with me and pushed me to make this happen. I hope you enjoyed my 1 year back to YouTube after being gone for a year. And I'm sure if we continue to do videos, I'll get back in the groove a little bit more. It will continue to improve. I felt like the delivery was clunky and everything, but after being gone for a year and talking for over an hour, this is the best I can do. But again, cheers guys. I love you guys. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.